I'm on a mission to get every achievement in the Crysis Trilogy, starting with the first game. In order to do this, I will need to finish the game on Delta difficulty, where the enemies are extremely strong, you have no crosshair, and there is no indicator for incoming grenades. The game begins when Raptor Team, our squad, is sent to an island to rescue some archaeologists that have been captured. Our name is Nomad, and we are equipped with a pretty cool nanosuit, which can go invisible, run super fast, and some other cool stuff. We end up parachuting out of a plane, and I overshoot the landing zone, so we spend a bit of time meeting up. In absolutely no time at all, we come across our dear friend who has been mauled to pieces by a mysterious creature. Bad day at the office, huh? A little later, we bump into the archaeologist's boat, which is somehow frozen on land. This gave me my first achievement. One thing I like about this game is that you fight the North Koreans. I swear to God, this is pretty much the only game where it's not the Russians. On our miraculous crusade, we have to take out a couple of North Korean camps, and on the way I found a sniper and completely accidentally got an achievement for killing an enemy from 200 meters away. One thing I'll say is that Jesus Christ, the enemies are strong on Delta difficulty. They can take 5 bullets and get up like it's nothing. The best strategy is to use stealth mode to walk around them and then shoot them all in the back of the head. Whenever one of our guys dies, we have to vaporize them to stop our suit's technology from getting into North Korean hands. I just feel it would be kinda creepy to see your co-worker incinerated. Eventually we come to a camp and find one of the people we're looking for. Oh sweet, achievement. If there's one thing I've learned in my short time with this game, it's that you really can't go in guns blazing. You have to be very sneaky and use your cloak mode effectively. Anyhow, I met up with our team leader getting an achievement. I sprinted straight off to the next objective and on my way snagged the achievement for sprinting 3 kilometers. Along with the main objective, there are other little things that you can do to make things slightly easier for you. On my way, I disabled the enemy's GPS or something, and that was the 4th task I completed, giving me an achievement. Back to the main story, I headed over to a North Korean excavation site where we find a kidnapped doctor being forced to study this weird electric rock. The rock ends up exploding, freezing everyone to death. Luckily, our nanosuit manages to maintain our temperature and we survive. Anyhow, it kind of alerts a bunch of angry Koreans to our location, so we have to escape. After dying many times, I run through a forest avoiding foot patrols, trucks, and helicopters, and I make it to the extraction point where I'm supposed to evacuate. Unfortunately, there are 4 guys there who have nanosuits. This was certainly a challenge to say the least, and I perished numerous times. My god, these guys are so fast. Eventually, I killed them, clearing the landing zone and reuniting with the only surviving member of my squad. In total, I got 3 achievements. 1 back when I discovered the excavation site, 1 when I cleared the landing zone, and finally, I got 1 for completing the first act of the story on Delta difficulty. After getting picked up, we head to a battleground where our troops are being absolutely butchered. We're tasked with sneaking into an enemy base so we can take out all of the enemy's AA guns. The checkpoints for this part were horrendous, and I died so many times. One time, I accidentally walked into an explosive barrel. No way! Yeah, this game has sensitive inputs. Upon destroying all the AA guns, I got an achievement. Unfortunately, on my way, I missed one of the secondary objectives, so I'll need to come back later and chapter select for the achievement. I was also tasked with destroying an enemy cruiser, which I gladly did. Right after, we jump into a tank and we have to push through enemy lines. There were a bunch of tanks in my way, but I managed to snag 2 achievements while in the tank. 1 for killing 200 people and another for destroying 5 tanks. I was able to secure a train station with no trouble at all. I was completely unharmed, and I got an achievement. This mission had a bunch of secondary objectives, like taking out some AA guns, making a target for planes to strike, and destroying a barrier blocking our troops' path. Here, I got the achievement for completing 8 secondary objectives, along with 1 for completing the mission. Carrying on with my murderous conquering, I went to steal some intel, and on my way, I picked up a frog. In the next section, I had to single-handedly clear out a quarry, and my god, it was so fucking hard. Probably my lowest point during this playthrough. So far. I died so many fucking times, and one time I did it and there was just no checkpoint, and while walking around I punched a car and it fucking exploded. No, I'm not kidding. The only good thing that came from that situation was when I destroyed my 5th helicopter for an achievement. After that ordeal, we head further into the mines to rescue the hostage. We get ambushed on our way down and taken hostage by a Korean general. Anyhow, have you guys ever seen the movie where the big bad guy wants an all-powerful weapon and the science dude is like, no, you can't, it's too powerful, but then he does it anyway? Yeah, That's what happens. We end up fighting the Korean dude, and it was actually super easy because you can just pick up a box and throw it at him, which will knock him over, giving you time to unload a full magazine of SMG ammo on him. Defeating him earned me an achievement, as did completing the second act. Following that, quite possibly the worst mission in the game ensues. You have to go through these weird fucking tunnels with zero gravity. It took me the better part of an hour, and I had to watch multiple YouTube tutorials. I don't know why developers decide to put these shitty missions in games. Wolfenstein did the exact same thing. When I finally escaped, I got an achievement. When we get out of the cave, we're bombarded with these strange, overpowered alien enemies, and we're about to die when Prophet, one of the guys in our squad who supposedly died earlier, jumps out and saves us. He gives us a powerful weapon, but he's not feeling too well, so we have to escort him to safety. We make it to a bunch of Marines preparing to evacuate, and an achievement pops. Right after that, I snag the achievement for customizing all 5 of the modifications on my assault rifle. Shortly after our arrival, we push back to a guy called Major Strickland's position. We flee on the back of a truck manning a turret, shooting down these huge weird alien things as we go. On our way, we have to rescue a doctor lady from earlier whose plane had been shot down. This part was also really difficult, and I can't say I enjoyed myself too much. We eventually make it to Major Strickland and hold off the enemies as long as we can, while as many Marines as possible evacuate. Unfortunately, one of the big boy aliens comes along, and if it wasn't for Major Strickland heroically sacrificing himself, we would have been fucked. The next section was also pretty painful. I had to pilot one of the transports called VTOLs. They had really weird controls, and there are big fucking aliens charging you from every direction. I did manage to get past, but I will admit to numerous deaths. We get back to the aircraft carrier, and oh, have you guys seen the movie where the government is going to launch a nuke at the enemy, but the main characters are like, no, there's another way, but they do it anyway? Yeah. That happens. So, it turns out launching the nukes was a bad idea, and the alien things get way stronger. They attack our aircraft carrier, and shit hits the fan. While defending the carrier, I picked up a minigun and got an achievement for killing an enemy with every weapon. I also got the achievement for killing 400 enemies total. A short way into the battle, the aliens send in this big guy to take the flight deck. It was honestly a really underwhelming fight, but nonetheless, I killed him, earning an achievement. Seconds later, they send in another big boy, and we have to use an experimental weapon to defeat it. It was again pretty underwhelming, and when I defeated him, I earned an achievement. Upon the credits rolling, I got 3 achievements for completing the game on various difficulties. Before we get into the final stretch, I'll just say that I had a pretty good time with this game. It was really cheap. I bagged the entire trilogy for $30, and while there were definitely a couple of shitty missions, I'd recommend it if you're thinking about getting it on sale. And here are the last 8 achievements. Alright, this should be the last secondary objective I have to get, and I wasn't recording, but I got another achievement for using every attachment in the game. It was this grenade launcher, so I'll just add that to the counter now. I used mission select for this, and I put it on easy mode, and my god, the difference is stunning. I could probably just do fist only. There we go, perfect soldier, complete all secondary objectives. God, if that wasn't the only one I missed, I don't know what the hell I would have done. I think I'm gonna stick around for a bit in this mission, because there's a few more achievements I reckon I can snag here. There you go, kill 20 enemies with grab. Yes, that's a nanosuit guy. Yes, I got an achievement.
Put me down!
Alright, I need to do the mission Onslaught, staying in the same tank the entire time. Oh, I reached the end of the mission. Hell yeah, there we go. Bye-bye. I also killed 10 enemies by throwing stuff at them, but I wasn't recording. Oh, tag 30 enemies in the markers. Hell yeah. And final achievement for killing 5 enemies without being spotted. Oh, thank god, it popped. Alright, on to Crysis 2. After selecting the hardest possible difficulty, we're shoved into a prologue, which basically shows New York going to shit as a disease dubbed the Manhattan virus breaks out. The entire city is placed under the control of a private military organization, Cell, and oh yeah, the same aliens from the last game are still invading. This is where we fit in. My name is Alcatraz, and I go along with some other US Marines to extract a scientist, Nathan Gould. We're on a boat docking in Manhattan Harbor when we explode, and pretty much everyone dies. We get rescued by Prophet. Remember him from Crysis 1? Man, it's so cool to see him. I'm really excited to play through this game with him.
Remember me.
Okay. Turns out that he was infected with the virus, so he shoots himself and gives us the nanosuit, which has lots of abilities like cloaking, heavy armor, and thermal vision. Getting the suit earned us our first achievement. We have to escape the building that Prophet dragged us into, and to do that we have to get past a couple of patrols, in total around 15 men. It took me a while to learn the ropes after not touching a video game in weeks, but I got there eventually, even getting an achievement for killing 4 enemies in a row with a headshot. We escape the facility and enter the war-torn streets of Manhattan, earning yet another achievement. By the way, this game is simply phenomenal to look at. Moving along, I came to a rooftop and used my visor to scan the area. There was a group of 3 guards standing together, so I figured it would be most opportune to throw a grenade. I ended up killing all 3 of them, and it just so happened to be an achievement. How convenient. I kept going on my way to an alien crash site where I can hopefully get some samples to take to Dr. Gould. I struggled here a bit because I was running out of ammunition. That notwithstanding, I was able to take some tissue samples which gave me an achievement. This is where I also met a new enemy. These weird tentacle alien things which look really scary, but they aren't too hard to defeat. I continued along this highway to get to the doctor, but it collapsed, making things slightly more difficult. I then spent about 45 minutes on this one section before watching a YouTube tutorial and realizing I had just completely missed one of the entrances. I had to sneak past an enemy blockade to get to a tank, and once I did, I had the time of my fucking life. Developers, take notes, because this is how you make a tank mission. You go through a tunnel destroying everything in your path. Unfortunately, your time with the large hunk of metal gets cut short when the doctor tells you that you have to sneak into this lab and destroy his research before Cell can get their hands on it. We begin at an outlook, and in these situations it's always best to use a scoped rifle and just pick them off one by one using your cloaking ability. While here, I made sure to grab as many enemies as possible and throw them to their death because there is actually an achievement for it, which I got. I destroyed everything in the lab and then fended off attacks from a couple of helicopters, and then walked a little further to get to Dr. Gould's apartment where he's hiding. He discovers what happened to Prophet and that something is weird with our suit. Apparently we have to make our way to a Cell facility that has proper equipment. The plan is that I will go and cause a ruckus and draw Cell troops to my position while the doctor will slip out quietly. I do this, and upon completing the mission I got 2 achievements for completing 6 missions on the 2 highest difficulties. After a fun little rooftop sniping section, we head on down to the facility and meet up with Dr. Gould, earning an achievement in the process. We hook into the chair and begin a scan, but it gets cut short as Commander Lockhart and his men from Cell ambush us. We are about to be transported away, but some aliens launch a surprise attack and we manage to escape in the chaos. Same as the first Crysis game, this is where I get annoyed. In the next few missions we really just fight aliens, and I find that nowhere near as fun. Fighting the soldiers in Cell is just so much more enjoyable than emptying magazines upon magazines on annoying aliens. Anyhow, we meet a guy called Jacob Hargreave, and he basically instructs us on what to do from here on out. We find an alien crash site and just have to go through and destroy these 3 main terminals. I don't really know what it was about, it was pretty boring, but upon destroying the 3 pillars, I got an achievement. We end up meeting up with some Marines, and it tells us to head to the Hargreave building to inject ourselves with something called a stabilizing agent. On the way, I got 25 stealth kills for an achievement. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this while playing through the first game, but man, the checkpoints are terrible. I'm fine being set back when I die, but Crysis 2 just does an overkill. After helping the Marines for a little while, I got an achievement. We press on, eventually coming to the Hargreave building and facing off with some Cell soldiers, earning an achievement. We then meet up with some more Marines and have to help them evacuate some civilians at Bryant Park. I actually quite enjoy this part. You get to use some rocket launchers, machine gun turrets, and it's honestly just kinda cool to have other NPCs fighting on your side. This was actually the 12th mission I completed on the hardest difficulty, earning 2 achievements. The next part was insanely difficult. You have to defeat this huge robot called the Pinger, and my god, he can take a beating. I fired rocket after rocket. I emptied entire chain guns on him, and he would still just kill me in an instant with an electric blast. The whole battle took me almost an hour. I guess they don't call it the highest difficulty for nothing. We are then ordered to head to Times Square where the Marines are finally pulling out. This is our only chance to escape New York, as the Air Force will not wait for us. We proceed through the streets before we face, guess what? Another fucking Pinger. This one was almost worse than the last one. I actually had to watch a YouTube tutorial. Nonetheless, I pulled through, arriving at the evac site with punctuality. Just as we're about to leave, this huge tentacle comes out of the ground and starts releasing these spores. Hargreave tells us that we need to jump in it and our suit will do some magical bullshit, so we do. On a side note, I just love how the suit has a fucking defibrillator. This is like the 3rd time in the game we've used it. One more. Yeah, man. Ah, there we go. So the Marines and I bugger off, but then we realize that we should probably rescue Hargreave, who is being held by Lockhart at a facility called the Prism. Just as I was walking by, I remember that there is an achievement for killing 2 enemies with 1 bullet, so I went ahead and snagged that. It turns out that Commander Lockhart has set up an EMP trap which will disable our suit. Thankfully, our trusty loyal companion Jacob Hargreave warns us, so we cut the power grid before going in. I rushed Lockhart in his command center and threw him through a glass window, putting an end to him once and for all. I was honestly expecting an achievement for that, but no. After that, I went to find Hargreave. However, he betrays us and sets off an EMP of his own because he wants the suit for himself. You see, he's actually just a corpse in a little chamber connected to a computer, and he needs the suit to live properly again. They try to take it off us, but thankfully this lady from the CIA rescues us. When I found Hargreave, an achievement popped. By the way, you see this gun? Yeah, it's a special weapon Hargreave designed. I have to make sure I get 20 kills with it for an achievement. Hargreave decides that he's sick of all the bullshit and he sets the facility to self-destruct in 10 minutes, so I run as fast as I possibly can. On my way, I did end up killing 20 of the aliens with the gun, so that's good. After being picked up by some Marines, I'm told that the Pentagon plans to launch a nuclear warhead at New York, because, of course they are. These writers clearly aren't good with new ideas, because I swear to God this happens in every second movie. Anyhow, we jump in a helicopter and see that Central Park is flying. Yeah, flying. It's been lifted up into the air by these massive tentacle things, so naturally we fly straight into it. I jump off and spend about an hour fighting my way through the heavily guarded area. There are 3 veins coming out of the scepter, and I have to go to each one and disable it. I do just that and then head to the main structure. On my way, I was stopped by these 2 enemies that have a cloaking ability. I just want to say, I fucking hate it when they do this. They did it in the first game, and it's just not fun. It's just annoying. Anyhow, I head on into the big thing, and my suit basically turns the virus into something that wipes out the aliens all over the world. A cutscene plays where everyone in the city is safe and cheering, and then we stand on a hill and say,
They call me Prophet.
Here I get 3 achievements for completing the game on the various difficulties. Despite a few gripes, I had a really good time with the story. I've been studying for exams and haven't really played many video games recently, so when I started with Crysis 2, I finished the campaign in just 2 days. I actually do have a couple of questions. 1, what the fuck happened to Nomad, the main character of the last game? And 2, what prompted the aliens to go from big blue flying things to octopus transformers? Anyhow, now it's time for the cleanup achievements. During my playthrough, I was sure to get all the collectibles I needed. This earned me 2 achievements. Shout out to Trophy Tim for the guide. Now it's time to hop into individual missions and pick up any miscellaneous achievements I missed. First, I went to the mission Dark Heart to get the achievement Hole in One for throwing an alien into this big sinkhole. Then I began Semplify or Die, in which I had to keep all of the Marines alive during the rescue. It took me a couple tries, but it was a lot easier being able to switch to the lowest difficulty. In one of the missions, you walk through a burning library and there is an achievement for scanning all of the books written by Richard Morgan, the man who wrote the original Crysis book. I also went into the mission where I had to shut off the power grid and did so without being detected. And the next 2 are for getting 10 kills by throwing objects at enemies and another 20 kills while combat sliding. Here's the death slide. Oh, did that? No, that didn't. Oh yeah, it did work. There we go. Hey buddy. Come on. Okay. Oh, there it is. There it is. Great. Perfect. Now on to the final achievement. And for this one, I have to kill a cell operator with a donut. So I think I have to stand here and wait for them to come close, and then I can drop it on them. By the way, if I sound me, I've got a bit of a cold right now. Alright, come on. 3, 2, 1. Yes. It said man down. There we go, hell yeah. And now on to the next one. We'll kick off Crysis 3 with a nice little recap of everything that happened in the first 2 games, which was actually very helpful as I finished Crysis 2 6 months prior to starting Crysis 3. I've been busy, alright? In the time between Crysis 2 and 3, Cell has basically taken over the world and is experimenting with extremely dangerous alien technology. They've also taken Prophet captive, which leads me to the opening cutscene where Psycho, one of the nanosuit soldiers from Crysis 1, is on a boat attempting to rescue us. Just so you know, I'll be playing through the game on Super Soldier difficulty, meaning the enemies will be a lot stronger, you have no aim assist and no crosshair. Anyhow, we get freed from our cage and then set our great escape in motion. It took me a while to get to know the controls again, but after messing with the sensitivity settings a bit, I was on a roll. After committing numerous brutal acts of violence, the game introduces me to a new weapon called the Predator Bow. It's pretty cool, you can shoot it without losing your stealth, and there are 4 different arrows, including explosive ones, which are fantastic for situations like these. And would you look at that, our first achievement. A new mechanic in Crysis 3 is hacking. You can use the ability to take control of enemy turrets, disable mines, and in this specific situation, open a door. Unfortunately, I completed the hack successfully, but the door wouldn't open. I reloaded the checkpoint several times and actually ended up trying for about half an hour before figuring out that despite the game saying the hack is complete, it won't actually register unless you use the default controls for the hack. Mildly annoying, but I reset the controls to default and I'll get over it. We escape the facility and Psycho kindly provides a fuckload of exposition. Long story short, Cell watched the Ready Player One movie where the evil corporation makes people work to pay off their debts, except the debt just keeps growing and growing so they never pay it off, and thought, shit, that's a good idea, let's do that. So the population is sort of enslaved and Cell is experimenting on crazy alien technology that could reawaken the aliens and destroy the world. Anyhow, completing the first mission earned an achievement. By the way, sorry the colors have been looking a little washed out, it should be fixed now. We head out into this massive dome, and since Psycho is going through a bit of a midlife crisis, crisis, get it? Anyhow, he's crashing out after losing his nanosuit, so he just stays back for support. There's a massive tower which has a habit of reenacting Hiroshima and Nagasaki whenever he sees me, so I have to sneak around until I find a weird alien weapon to blow him to hell with. I then took a stroll through the sewers, facing down with some cell soldiers, and oh my god, I don't know if Crysis 3 is just harder than 102 or if I just got way worse, but I died a lot more than I should have. Now, if your short-term memory extends more than about 90 seconds, you'll remember that I mentioned you can hack sentry turrets and turn them against cell soldiers. I did so here and got an achievement for causing the deaths of 10 men. A little while later, we meet the first alien enemies of the game. God, they're annoying. I already spoke about it during Crysis 2, but I'll say it again. Fighting the regular human soldiers is so much more fun. Eventually, we do link up with Psycho and get to blow the aliens to smithereens using a turret, which I'll admit was pretty enjoyable. In the final section of the mission, we make a grand escape in order to meet up with a bunch of Resistance members. We have a nice chat with the rebels and meet Psycho's girlfriend before we decide to head out and cut off Cell's power by destroying their dam. The mission kicks off with a skirmish between us and 30-odd Cell soldiers as we try to get to the dam. I decided to take the opportunity to snag a couple of achievements, the first being for shooting a soldier in the knee with an arrow. When I reached the top of the dam, I was able to kill 2 soldiers in one go by shooting an explosive barrel, which also earned an achievement. I ended up shutting down the 2 hydroelectric generators and then decided that I might as well blow up the whole damn thing. On my way, I completed my 20th hacking game for yet another achievement. I blew up the dam, but there was a problem. Cell had a backup power source which we also need to shut down. I began an arduous path down a river, which was made a little easier with a donut ring. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure there's an achievement here for jumping on this for like 20 seconds. There we go. We do end up being successful in destroying Cell's power, but things don't go quite the way we expected. Yeah, the Alpha Ceph, the biggest alien there is, emerges. Not good. At the end of the mission, Prophet proclaims that he will kill the Alpha Ceph, and then 3 achievements pop. One is for completing the mission, and the other 2 are for completing 3 out of 7 missions on the hardest 2 difficulties. That's crazy, this game only has 7 missions. The next mission was honestly really fucking annoying. You have to sneak through a bunch of aliens, and the only way to get past is really just to pray that they don't see you and run as fast as you can. I tried fighting them, and believe me, it doesn't work. Nothing much of note happened, although an alien did disappear right in front of me. What? Eventually, Psycho and I head down to the lab where Cell removed his suit. They basically skinned him alive, so he doesn't exactly have fond memories of the place. Anyhow, I get hooked into the machine and remove some blockers in my brain so that I can truly connect with the Alpha Ceph or something. I don't know, weird sci-fi bullshit. Just as we're about to leave, Psycho plays the video of him getting skinned and finds out that it was actually his girlfriend who did it. That's not gonna go down well. He gets pretty upset and walks out before the mission ends and an achievement pops. At the start of the next mission, we're able to connect with the Ceph for a brief moment and they don't attack us because they think we're one of them. We then learn of a protocol called Red Star Rising in which Cell directs all energy to a super weapon which would annihilate the Ceph, but also all of New York City. We can't let that happen, so we rush over to the Cell Command Center and on the way get 25 melee kills for an achievement. We managed to disable the protocol, but to our dismay, one of our esteemed colleagues has been dominated by the Alpha Ceph, and disabling the weapon was the one thing they needed so they could open a wormhole to their home planet to send hordes of alien warriors through. Crashed on a bike that escalated quickly. The guy who turned against us also somehow becomes Emperor Palpatine and uses lightning to disable our suit and severely wound Psycho's wife. Luckily, we subdue him and the mission ends. The next mission starts off with us going around and disabling a bunch of anti-air defense systems so Psycho can come in and blow some shit up. On the way, there were a couple of secondary objectives, most of which I ignored, but one of them required me to destroy 3 pingers, which is an achievement, so I did. Once all the anti-air defense systems are down, Psycho picks us up and we have a pretty cool flying section. God, Psycho was a funny guy. Eventually, this massive alien called the Mastermind Ceph comes in, and we have an extremely difficult boss fight, which was actually pretty fun. With that, the mission ends, and we move on to the finale. At the start of the next mission, the wormhole opens, and we wake up underground amongst a network of Ceph tissue, a nervous system of sorts. There are a couple of hive mind control points around the cave, and I have to go to 3 of them and disable them. I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but in the game you can gain the ability to be supercharged for a short while. I did so, and in the process earned 2 achievements for killing 10 enemies in 1 supercharge, and 25 in total. There are also 5 different alien weapons you can pick up and use, and I used all 5 for another achievement. Eventually, I made it to the final boss fight against the Alpha Ceph, and by god this was difficult at first, but it wasn't actually too bad once I figured out the patterns. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think the handgun is the best option. Yeah, no, that's not actually. I think think I'm all good, bro. Oh, let's go behind there. Okay. Okay. Turns out he can break rocks. After about half an hour, I defeated him and the achievement for completing the mission popped. We then complete a short epilogue in which we get sucked into space through the wormhole and are able to use Cell's super weapon from earlier to completely destroy the Ceph. Right there, the 3 achievements for completing the game on the hardest difficulty pop. And then a cutscene plays in which Prophet falls back to Earth and crashes on the very same beach that Nomad did in the first Crysis game. Nice little callback. Now, normally I would go through most of the remaining achievements individually, but this video is getting pretty long and I can't really be bothered editing anymore, so let's speedrun this shit. I first finished off getting all collectible related achievements. After that, I got a few mission-specific miscellaneous achievements. And finally, a bunch of achievements related to getting a certain amount of kills in a certain way. Overall, I really enjoy the trilogy. I thought some of the alien-based combat was quite dull, but I was still invested in the story, especially during Crysis 3, and having the various abilities was refreshing and differentiated these games from other first-person shooters. They were all pretty short as well. The whole trilogy only took me 54 hours to complete, so none of them overstayed their welcome. Crysis 4 was announced in 2022, but as of a couple months ago, development has been put on hold as Crytek, the developer, faces some rough times. I really hope it gets made, and if it does, I'll definitely 100% it. Until next time, go check out this video where I get every achievement in Horizon Zero Dawn.